So I think a little bit of I don't know how much to say, but we have definitely inherited so much from so much of our the musicality of our gurus, and their musicality has in fact shaped us what we are, and has also taken us in a path of where we stand today, where our own individuality has also shaped our music.
Yeah, what is so special is that it's a festival for instrumental music, because as I mentioned, like, of course, Carnatic music is vocal based, so we have a lot of concerts giving importance to the vocal music. So this is something very special. There are a lot of instrumental players, and instruments are very important in Indian music as well. So this particular festival is giving importance to the instrumental instruments as such.
Welcome to what is really promising to be a very, very special interview. We're doing this on this week at the NCPA to herald Saz-E-Bahar, a 2-day extraordinary festival at the National Center of the Performing Arts. This is Indian music, and on the 10th of April, which is day 1, 11th of April is day 2, the Violin Sisters are going to perform. This is an NCPA presentation supported by City. The venue is Experimental Theatre. It's a 6 p.m. performance. Anybody who's 6 plus, so if you have children aged 6 and above, you can bring them. Tickets are live now on Book My Show as well as at the venue, which is the NCPA box office. And the Experimental Theatre is a confined space. Tickets are going out very fast, so I urge you to go right away, else you'd be found wanting. I'm very pleased to welcome Lalitha and Nandini Muthuswamy. They're the 4th generation in a family of musicians. Thank you, ma'ams, for joining us for this conversation.
Namaskarams, and both of us are very, very happy to be here to be talking to you about our, as you mentioned, our special event or concert for the NCPA.
Lovely. You know, the theme of this 13th edition of Saz-E-Bahar is Instruments India Adapted. Now, the violin is the most deeply assimilated of them all, and who knows that better than the two of you? Your own musical lineage goes back to Baluswamy Dikshitar, the brother of Muthuswamy Dikshitar. In a very real sense, they are the people who brought the violin into South Indian classical music. So my question to you, Lalitha ma'am, is, does this festival feel personal to you? Almost like a homecoming story of your family?
Of course, it's very special because one thing is that it's a festival of instrumental music, and the second thing is, of course, the violin is very, very close to us, and not because it belongs to our family, but we feel like we are
very close to our heart, and it's something which I would say we grew up with. So we inhaled, we dreamt. we actually lived with the violin since our childhood. It just happened, and so it is very much, we would say, it's a part of us. It's very, very difficult to dissociate yourself from the instrument, having lived with it for many, many decades. So it's a very, very special concert for it, also because we feel very happy that the theme of the festival itself is on music instruments, and we are so happy that there is a festival which is emphasizing on musical instruments and their importance and their music. So that makes it very, very special.
And thanks to NCPA for bringing such a beautiful concept.
You know, I did a whole interview with T.M. Krishna where all he did was talk about the brilliance of Muthuswamy Dikshitar. So even though I am a novice, I don't know much about classical music. After that interview, I came away absolutely stunned because he gave me so much information on the great Muthuswamy Dikshitar. And that brings me to your lineage and your gurus. I mean, you began your music training at the tender age of 3, Nandini ma'am. And, you know, this is your grandfather, Shri V. Lakshmi Narayana Iyer, your mother, Srimati Subbalakshmi Muthuswamy. Later, you received guidance, if I'm not mistaken, from Padma Vibhushan Dr. Semmangudi Srinivasa Iyer.
Yes.
And the great Dr. L. Subramaniam and Dr. L. Shankara, your uncles.
Now, L. Vaidyanathan, L. Subramaniam, and L. Shankar.
And L. Shankar. Now, my question is when you have this extraordinary constellation of teachers, I call them constellations because they're all stars. Do you always carry their voices in you? Or, do you keep it alive? Do you keep it present? Please talk to me about that.
I think it's something which we have inherited. In fact, I would just like to recall something. There was a very, very great music critic by the name Subbudu. Everybody in the Carnatic fraternity would have heard of him, and they do respect him a lot. He once mentioned in a concert review, one of our earliest concerts when we were very young, that the way we were playing, we might have started performing while we were in our mother's womb. So that makes a lot of sense because our mother, who's also our guru, used to specifically learn music, be in touch with music, spend hours with music when she was carrying us, so that we would kind of inherit her musicality, her guru's musicality, and maybe in a way it has come true. And we have, yes, a great lineage ahead of us, and we are humbled to belong to that lineage. But also, I think we carry a lot from each of them, in the sense from my mother, who's our Srimati Subbalakshmi Muthuswamy, who's our guru, and she herself has had a tutelage from great gurus, including her father and my grandfather, Sri V. Lakshminarayan Iyer, who was also incidentally our first guru. And we also had the honor and privilege of learning from for many years from Padma Vibhushan Sangeeta Pitamaha, Sri Chammagudi Srinivasa Iyer. And he also happens to be my mother's guru. And we also had the great fortune of having learned under my first uncle, Sri L. Vaidyanathan, who's a renowned musical genius. So I think a little bit of I don't know how much to say, but we have definitely inherited so much from so much of our the musicality of our gurus, and their musicality has in fact shaped us what we are, and has also taken us in a path of where we stand today, where our own individuality has also shaped our music, what we have learned, what we have seen, what we have heard, and then the different places where we have traveled to, taken our music to our audiences. Everything, I think, has a part to play in our musicality and our journey in this musical path.
That's very beautifully answered. Lalitha ma'am, you hold a PhD in Indian music, and your thesis, I believe, was a comparative study of violin techniques in Western and South Indian classical music. My question is, does Dr. Lalitha the scholar sometimes sit in the same chair as Lalitha the concert violinist? Does the academic lens change the way you perform?
I would like to answer one more. I now hold a Doctor of Literature DLit
Oh, wow.
in music, which is again on different musical instruments connected with the temple rituals in Tamil Nadu, for which I was awarded the DLit. The PhD was on the violin techniques, while my DLit was on the different musical instruments. So again, being an instrumentalist, I guess I was able to work on this. Yes, Dr. Lalitha, as a scholar, sometimes, yes, when I sit as a musician, sometimes, yes, I tend to, research in my brain while performing. That happens. Sometimes not. I'm fully a musician in the sense what I perform as a classical musician or an experimental musician. My full focus would be on that, the ragas or the different talas or the different rhythmic patterns. And but yes, sometimes as a scholar, I keep correlating.
But I think there is a there is an element of research into any musician, because to be a thinking musician, you will have to analyze your music. Because music is all about boundaries which you are within, which you can transcend, which you cannot transcend. There's so much of understanding that has to go in, so much of questioning as well, to be on the right path, on the right trajectory. So I think you have to be a researcher as well in order to understand. For instance, if you need to understand the context of a particular composition before delivering it, you need to be a researcher also to understand the state of mind of the composer, the way he has composed, the musicality, not just the lyrics or the context. So many things go into it. So I think
And even the ragas, for example, the way Tyagaraja has handled a raga, which might be different from Sri Muthuswamy Dikshidhar. For example, there is a raga called Salaga Bhairavi. Tyagaraja has composed Padavini Sad Bhakti You. So the way he has handled that is different from what Muthuswamy Dikshidhar has handled the Salaga Bhairavi. It's completely different. So when we, play a concert, or when we learn a new composition, or, we do start analyzing on those areas.
And also we also look at it, where your improvisatory music, joins path with the preconceived compositions of the great Vagyakaras. It should kind of reflect what they have composed. There may be certain special phrases which have been composed or used by the composer, which is not in relevance today. So how do you handle it? So that is where, your research thinking also comes into play, like where your personal manodharma should be a reflection of the composer's point of view as well. So these are kind of things which we think about as performers, as researchers also.
Nice. Now I want to come to something that intrigues me, which is the dual mastery. Now, both of you have mastered both Western classical as well as South Indian classical music. You hold grade 8 distinctions from the Trinity College of Music, London. My question is, does that dual fluency actually change how you play Carnatic music? Do you hear Carnatic music differently because of what Western classical music has taught you, or vice versa? I don't know.
It's like learning two different languages. Of course, Nandini did German and French, and I studied French apart from our mother tongue, Tamil and English. So when we speak English, yes, it is English. And when it is French, it is going to be French. And when it is German, the same thing goes. Like when we play the Western classical music, we try to bring in the elements from the Western classical music. And in Carnatic music, we think it in terms of Carnatic music. Sometimes, yes, some of the techniques which we might think would suit, or we can adapt it while playing the Western classical music, we do bring it, and vice versa.
But also I would like to add saying that, yes, as Lalitha mentioned, we know many languages, but still there is a mother tongue. In the same way, we are still rooted to our classical idiom, Carnatic music. But at the same time, yes, we are handling an instrument. The violin in its present shape has come from the West. So learning Western classical music also kind of, widens our horizon as to how we can handle the instrument, how we can adapt it to suit Carnatic music or any other musical systems. Because as you know, Lalitha and myself have not only trained in Carnatic music and Western classical music, but also world music. She did her world music in Pittsburgh, and I did mine in London at SOAS. So we also do a lot of experimental stuff, with different kinds of musical genres besides Carnatic and Western classical. So this kind of gives us an understanding and insight into other musical genres as to what is common, what is different, what is similar, and to create a music which can be very different at the same time, which can be very enjoyable as well.
Okay, treat me as the ignorant one now. But it's a question that a lot of people who might come to watch you will have when they come to the experimental theatre. The violin is rested very differently in Carnatic as opposed to Western. I noticed that the violin is rested against the collarbone and you play it facing downward in Carnatic, and in the Western it's an underchin position. Now, my question is, why does that posture matter to the music, just as a layman? How the instrument sits on your body compared to how a Western classical violinist would hold it. Does that matter to the music?
Basically, Carnatic music is vocal based. So there is no separate compositions for any instruments, be it a violin or be it a flute or be it a veena or any nagaswaram. So whatever is sung should be played on an instrument. That's the first thing. Now, that's the reason, like as instrumentalists, we are first taught to sing whatever we are going to play on an instrument. So sometimes we say, that we instrumentalists have the work, we have to do double the work. If you're a vocalist, you just learn it and yes, you deliver it. But as an instrumentalist, I have to learn it vocally and then produce the same way as it is sung on any instrument. Now, coming to the violin. Violin, yes, in the West, it is held in a standing position with the collarbone holding it, but with the chin and the left hand holding it in a standing position. In Carnatic music has a lot of ragas, and the ragams have the gamakas or oscillations.
So the gamaka is a very key feature of Carnatic music. Gamaka consists of many ornamentations, basically a lot of slides, upward and downward movements, So when you play the violin, there's going to be a lot of pulls and pushes. So to facilitate accuracy, the posture was changed by Baluswamy Dikshitar. He was the one who actually brought the violin into the Carnatic fraternity. He saw the violin being performed by the British band, and he thought that it is very, very close to the human voice. So because the violin is unfretted instrument, it does not have any frets, it has only strings. There is a lot of possibility for it to mimic the human voice. Whatever the human voice produces, the violin can. Sometimes it can also produce that which the human voice cannot. For instance, producing double stop, two notes at the same time, double stops, as you would call in Western classical music. Two sounds. I mean, when you sing, you can produce only one sound, but the violin can produce more than one. So that's the caliber of the instrument. But again, coming to the point, because there were a lot of gamakas, which is very characteristic of Carnatic music, the posture had to be changed to facilitate the music system. So that's the reason we sit down and rest the violin between the foot near the ankle and the chin, so that the left hand can move freely to execute the different ornamentations, especially the gamakas, which are found in Carnatic music.
Thank you so much for simplifying it, and it's storytelling at its best. You were able to explain to me, a layman, on why the difference is there. It's wonderful. Thank you very much. I want to come to the NCPA now. We're very proud of it as Mumbaikars. The whole nation should be proud of it. I'd like to know your individual memories of having played there before. There is the experimental theatre where you're performing currently. There's also Tata Theatre, Jamshed Baba Theatre, Gorage Theatre, Little Theatre, also an art gallery for art lovers. It's really a very beautiful complex which is built for art and culture. So your thoughts on it and your memories of having played. I believe you played in Saz-E-Bahar itself before. So if you have any memories that you'd like to share, we'd love to hear it.
Mumbai is very special to us. The audience, they are amazing. First of all, we have to say that. And thanks again to Dr. Swarnalatha ji and the NCPA and the entire NCPA team for inviting us this year to perform at the Saz-E-Bahar. We have performed in Mumbai many, many times. I mean, yes, also at NCPA. And
I think at the Godrej Theatre.
Yeah, that was
many years ago.
And so returning back again to NCPA to perform at this very special festival, I mean, it is very special. So we are really looking forward to it. And we have also specially planned something for this instrumental festival.
We're actually excited to be back at NCPA for quite some time. And for this very special festival on music instruments. So it makes it more meaningful for us. And yes, as she mentioned, we have a special lineup of what we are going to perform, which I think we'd rather keep it as a surprise.
Fair enough. But just a bit about the acoustics, the sound, which is so important for musicians like you, and of course the Mumbai audience. If you could say a couple of words.
So NCPA is it's renowned not only as a center of performing arts, not just for the western part of India, but for the whole of India. And yes, as you mentioned it has got one of the best acoustic system in India, and you feel that it's such a wonderful performing space to perform. And as always, we know that Mumbaikars, their love for art and culture has been amazing. As Lalitha mentioned, there have been some very, very special festivals and venues where we have performed in Mumbai earlier in Maharashtra, but also at NCPA. I mean, it brings us wonderful memories of having performed there many, many years ago. So it's literally maybe a homecoming, a return back to Mumbai after many years.
And NCPA has been very meticulous in their planning and connecting with us and asking for our technical requirements. I mean, right from the small minute details till it is very special. They've taken care on all elements.
I'm going to just remind everybody who's watching or listening, it's a 2-day festival. The Violin Sisters perform on day 1. Day 2 is also very eventful. Tickets are live at Book My Show as well as at the NCPA box office, supported by City. Aravind Bhargav is there on the mandolin the day the Violin Sisters are performing. And he's one of the very few practitioners of the mandolin who is trained under the late and great U. Srinivas. And on day 2, you have the harmonium of Anant Joshi and Debashish Bhattacharya, who is going to play a slide guitar. Now, these are all artists who understand their adapted instrument very, very deeply. Ma'am, Lalitha ma'am, Nandini ma'am, have you heard Arvind Bhargav play before? Any of these musicians, if they are familiar to you? Of course, U. Srinivas, who doesn't know? God bless him and his contribution. Just your thoughts on the lineup.
It's a fantastic lineup, I would say. Of course, we know Arvind Bhargav, we know Debashish Ji, and the festival itself is very special in the sense it is bringing the different instruments like the violins, the mandolin, the harmonium, the slide guitar. So
basically, instruments which may not be indigenous, but which have been brought into our Indian classical fold and which have been very successfully adapted to give a voice to Indian music. So we see that there is Carnatic as well as Hindustani concerts, which again makes it pan-Indian. So such a lovely festival, the way it has been thoughtfully curated and the way it is being presented to give a representation to the two different, classical idioms of India, and also a wide range of musical instruments, plucked, bowed, as well as, keyed harmonium. So it's such a beautifully curated festival, which I think should not be missed. It's one of a kind, I think. Kudos to NCPA for putting together such a beautiful festival, and we are so happy to be part of it.
Yeah, what is so special is that it's a festival for instrumental music, because as I mentioned, like, of course, Carnatic music is vocal based, so we have a lot of concerts giving importance to the vocal music. So this is something very special. There are a lot of instrumental players, and instruments are very important in Indian music as well. So this particular festival is giving importance to the instrumental instruments as such. So
if you look at the history of Indian music, instruments and instrumental music has played a huge part which cannot be neglected. So I think a festival entirely dedicated to musical instruments is something which needs to be welcomed, and which I think needs to be emulated by other organizations as well, to kind of focus on the rich instrumental music traditions that we in India have.
All of you are listening and watching. Another very vital detail why this festival is so different is before the performers get on stage to perform, Dr. Suvarnalata Rao, who is the head of Indian music at the NCPA, herself a research scientist. We just talked about the Muthuswamy sisters being scholars and, so profoundly educated in music of all sorts. Dr. Rao is a kindred soul. And Dr. Rao is going to open with a talk on the instruments. So if you're interested in the history of the instrument and the lineage of the instrument, you should come and see the beginning, because she will open with a talk, and then the sisters will come on stage and perform. And that's important, isn't it? I mean, not just to listen to the music, but also have somebody giving you a context. Who better than Dr. Rao?
Absolutely, absolutely. She's a wonderful person and a wonderful researcher, and
A
she's the
great
best.
scholar. So it's wonderful to have her to speak about instruments so that you get into the context before you actually listen to the performances.
So my last question is, you said you gave us a sneak peek of what we can expect. We're not going to ask you to give us your surprise away, but uh, with my limited knowledge, I do know that you've specialized in playing varnams in different grades of tempo and kalpana swaras in many grades of speed, which is a very prominent and unique feature of your violin. Does tempo variation matter very profoundly in Carnatic music? Is my question to you.
See, when we take compositions or even when we improvise, we have different tempos. There are compositions like which have to be played in a slower tempo. You can't play those very fast because again the context and the meaning is such. For example, there is a composition of Tyagaraja, Teliyalero Rama Bhakti Margamunu. Lord Rama, I don't know the path of the bhakti. So
Tyagaraja laments in this particular composition. So this is very emotive, very personal between the bhakta and his deity, and there's a yearning. So this in line with the mood of the composer, the mood of the sahitya, the context of the kriti, it needs to be played in a vilambakala or much slow one. You can't play it faster. It's not something joyous to be played faster. So in line with the composition, the tempo also has to adhere to what the composer has intended. So tempo plays a very, very vital part when you're performing. That's the reason I said you need to have an understanding of the composition, the mood of the composer, the context, also the lyrics, the sahitya, everything before you actually decide on what tempo it has to be played.
Even ragas, for example, you have raga Arabi and raga Devagandhari. So when you take the raga Arabi, that has to be played in a medium kind of tempo. You can't play that very slow. Whereas Devagandhari is a raga which has to be rendered in a bit slower way. So if you play fast, that raga,
the raga chaya will be lost because there are also some characteristic phrases which will sound beautiful, which will make it sound like Devagandhari, only it is played when it is played in the appropriate speed. So that counts a lot in Carnatic music. And when there are subtle nuances or graces or ornamentations which need to be executed clearly to show the characteristic of a raga, for instance, in the case of raga Ananda Bhairavi, you need to play it at the appropriate slow speed, Vilamba, or even a Madhyama Kala. But never, Nadurita Kala, you will lose the character of the raga. So speed does play an important part.
Thank you so much. It's been such an enriching conversation. I can't thank you enough.
You had beautiful questions.
Yes, we
Thank you.
enjoyed.
We really enjoyed it.
That's very kind of you. This is an NCPA presentation supported by City. The venue is the Experimental Theatre, the Saz-E-Bahar Music Festival, April 10th and 11th. And tickets are live now at Book My Show as well as at the venue, which is the NCPA box office. Lalitha and Nandini Muthuswamy are performing on day one. It's a 6 p.m. start. Please be there at the Experimental Theatre. Thank you, ma'am, and hope to see you soon in Mumbai.
Yes, we look forward meeting you.
Take
Thank
care.
you so
Thank
much.
you. Cheers.
Namaste.
One world, your station.